I was on a road trip heading back from a job interview across the country. The interview hadn't gone great, but hey, at least I'd turned it into a mini vacation by driving instead of flying. It gave me time to clear my head, right? Wrong.
It was pouring outside when I started my drive home. Rain drummed against my windshield like tiny fists trying to break through the glass. At first, it felt almost relaxing, the rhythmic patter blending with the hum of my tires on wet asphalt. But then came the darkness. Pitch-black stretches of dense forest stretched endlessly around me, broken only by the faint glow of my headlights cutting through sheets of rain. Long one-lane roads twisted ahead, making visibility nearly impossible. My GPS said 10 hours for this leg of the journey, but I knew better than to trust technology completely, not out here. By 1 a.m., fatigue clawed at the edges of my mind. I glanced down at my phone mounted on the dashboard. 62 miles until the next turn. Fine. No big deal. Except 30 minutes later, when I checked again, the screen still read, turn right in 62 miles. And worse, my car wasn't moving on the map. Frozen. Useless. Just staring blankly at me as if mocking my predicament. A chill ran down my spine as I realized something wasn't adding up. If I hadn't moved in 30 minutes, why did it feel like I'd been driving non-stop? Why were the trees blurring past my windows? Desperation set in. I restarted the app, tapped furiously, anything to make it work. Nothing. All it showed was that ominous instruction, turn right in 62 miles. No road name. No landmarks. Just 62 miles. An hour crawled by, or maybe more, I couldn't tell anymore. The forest never ended. Every twist and bend looked identical. Each shadow seemed darker than the last. My knuckles tightened on the steering wheel, and my heart pounded harder every time lightning split the sky. Then, finally, salvation, a dim intersection ahead. On the connecting street sat a truck, its hazards blinking lazily in the storm. Someone else stranded, probably dealing with the same GPS hell I was. Slowing down, I squinted at the barely visible street sign. For a brief moment, recognition sparked in my brain. This name, didn't I see it earlier? Before the app froze? Maybe. Probably. Fatigue warred with paranoia, but I made the call. I turned. At first, relief washed over me. Sure, I was still surrounded by suffocating trees, but at least I thought I might be heading toward civilization now. That hope died within the hour. The forest pressed closer, impenetrable and ancient. My headlights barely pierced the gloom, revealing gnarled branches that looked like skeletal hands reaching for me. And then, there it was, a flicker of light piercing the darkness. A billboard advertising a motel. Right there, smack in the middle of nowhere. Weird placement, sure, but desperate times called for desperate measures. I pulled into the empty parking lot, not caring how odd it felt. Not yet, anyway. The silence inside my car was deafening after I shut off the engine. Rain hammered the roof above me, drowning out all other sounds. I stared at my phone again. Still frozen. Still useless. Cursing under my breath, I tried restarting it once more before giving up entirely. As I reached for my jacket, movement caught my eye. Through the rain-streaked window, I saw the truck from the intersection pull in a few spaces away. My pulse quickened. What were the odds? Coincidence? Or something else? I shook my head, dismissing the thought. Paranoia was getting the best of me. Still, I kept my focus on the stranger climbing out of the truck. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his face obscured by long hair plastered to his skin. Something about him unsettled me, though I couldn't put my finger on why. A sharp rap on my window nearly made me jump out of my seat. "Hey," he yelled over the storm. "Can you help me?" Reluctantly, I rolled the window down a crack. Cold rain splashed onto my lap. "What do you want?" I asked, voice tight. "I need directions," he replied, leaning closer. His breath smelled of damp earth and decay. "Do you know how to get to?" He rattled off an address so specific it sounded rehearsed. "No idea," I cut him off quickly. "Sorry, man. I'm lost too." His lips curled into a thin smile. "Have a nice night," he said, turning back toward his truck without another word. That should have been the end of it. But 15 minutes later, after pacing the parking lot and failing to fix my phone, I decided to check inside the motel. Maybe someone could help me figure out where the hell I was. Pushing open the creaky front door, I stepped into what could only be described as a mausoleum. The lobby was dark, silent except for the occasional drip of water leaking through the ceiling. Nobody manned the desk. I leaned over, peering into the shadows beyond. "Hello?" My voice echoed unnaturally loud. Behind me, the door creaked open. I spun around, heart racing, and found myself face to face with the man from the truck. Water dripped from his hair and beard, pooling at his feet. One hand remained suspiciously shoved deep into his coat pocket. His eyes locked onto mine, cold and calculating. In that instant, every instinct screamed at me to run. Instead, I forced myself to move forward, squeezing past him toward the exit. To my surprise, he let me go, but his gaze followed me like a predator stalking prey. Back in my car, adrenaline surged through my veins. I fumbled with the keys, starting the engine just as heavy footsteps approached. Through the rain-smeared window, I saw him pause beside my door. His free hand hovered near the handle, fingers twitching. Then came the sound, a metallic click as he tested the clutch. Thank God my car auto-locks. But he didn't stop there. Rage contorted his features as he yanked violently at the door, rocking the entire vehicle. Panic seized me. Without thinking, I slammed the gas pedal, tires squealing as I sped away. In the rearview mirror, I caught a glimpse of him standing motionless in the rain, watching me leave. 20 miles later, I stumbled upon a small diner nestled along the highway. Exhaustion weighed heavily on me, but I needed answers. Pushing through the door, I was greeted by warm light and the comforting aroma of coffee. 3 patrons occupied the space, a truck driver hunched over a cup of black coffee, a young woman nervously tapping her nails against a menu, and an older man polishing silverware behind the counter. "Long night?" the waitress asked, sliding a mug in front of me. "You have no idea," I muttered, recounting my ordeal. Their reactions ranged from disbelief to unease. The truck driver scoffed, dismissing my story as sleep deprivation. The young woman, however, grew increasingly agitated. "That motel you described, it closed months ago," she whispered. After people started disappearing." Her words sent a fresh wave of dread coursing through me. She explained that the area had a history of strange occurrences, including sightings of a man matching my description. According to local legend, he lured travelers off course, trapping them in endless loops of forest until they succumbed to madness, or worse. As we spoke, the diner lights flickered ominously. Outside, thunder roared louder than ever. Suddenly, the door swung open, letting in a gust of freezing wind. Standing in the doorway was the man from the motel, drenched and glaring directly at me. Panic erupted. The truck driver grabbed a crowbar, the waitress called 911. But the man didn't move. He simply stood there, dripping water onto the floor, his expression unreadable. When police arrived moments later, he vanished without a trace. Weeks passed before investigators confirmed the motel's closure and unearthed old records detailing disappearances linked to the site. Yet no evidence of foul play existed, only whispers of cursed roads and eternal forests.
To this day, I avoid highways lined with trees. Because sometimes, roads aren't meant to lead anywhere. And turns, well, some turns never end.